It's been a while since we have one of these. Welcome to the fourth episode of Taking Notes, everybody. I'm your host, Jack. So we're going to go over two topics that I thought were pretty interesting. Well, one is really exciting, obviously. We're talking about the Artem Zub extension, and we're going to talk about how the Ottawa Senators apparently kicked tires on Chicago Blackhawks defenseman Seth Jones, which was first reported by Elliot Friedman on the 32 Thoughts podcast. So first, let's start with the Zub extension. I'm very excited about this too. So he got extended on a 4-year extension. The Zub contract holds an AAV of $4.6 million, and we'll see him earn $4 million next year. And in the final 3 years of the contract, which will be from 2024 all the way to 2027, his cap hit will be $4.8 million. In the duration of the contract, which will commence on July 1st, 2023, he will have a modified no trade clause, which will include a 10-team no trade list. So a 10-team no trade list there. So he came from the KHL, and this is a quote said in a release Wednesday morning from Pierre Dorion. Artem's transition into North American hockey has been remarkable. He has worked hard to establish himself as an excellent NHL player and a strong defender. In 3 seasons and 142 games with the Senators so far, the native from Russia has 11 goals and 29 assists for 40 points. He also has a +/-4 rating, which is the highest among Senators with at least 50 games for the team since 2020-2021, considering the nightmare goal differential during a rebuild. In 14 games this season, Zub has 52 hits and 4 points, including a goal in the home opener against the Bruins, which he reaffirmed his status as a fan favorite. And he is a fan favorite. I mean, this is a guy that you're talking about who's really a stud for the Ottawa Senators. He has a lot of chemistry with the team, a lot of chemistry with Thomas Chabot. So I'm really excited about this. I knew an extension was coming really soon. I didn't know what he was going to get. A lot of people were saying, oh, probably the $6 million thing. I don't think it was safe to give him around $6 million. $5 million was a possibility. I just wasn't sure. I was thinking something around like 4.5 mil. But I'm pleased with this contract. It's very cap friendly to the team. And hey, Zoo for 4 more years. Nothing can beat it. If you're a Sens fan, you gotta be really excited about this contract. I mean, he's a lot of things the Senators need. I mean, he's really been a shutdown guy, and he also has some offensive skills as well. So that's what makes Artem Zub. I mean, I know a lot of Sens fans are excited about this. The holiday gift is this contract, and Pierre Dorion making a very smart move here. Congratulations to Artem Zub, and what a win for the Sens organization and us as a fan base. So now we're going to go to the Seth Jones rumor, and this is what it says right here. So Elliot Friedman reports on his 32 Thoughts piece on Sportsnet that the recent contract signing of Zub does not change that the Ottawa Senators are looking to trade for another right-shot defender. Friedman went on to say in his piece that the Senators have interest in a Seth Jones trade. Sens management has contacted the Blackhawks about his availability and if he would waive his, well, it says no trade clause, but he has a full no movement clause for a potential trade. That is as far as conversations have gone so far. He has a cap hit of $9.5 million, which he signed once he got traded to the Blackhawks. He was drafted 4th overall, obviously by the Predators, in the first round of the 2013 NHL entry draft. And overall, it just says what his stats have said, but pretty much what Elliot Friedman said is it's not gonna happen, which it's really rare because I don't know if it's gonna happen cap wise. I mean, it could, but my whole issue of it is how's the deal going to get done? What are you going to give up? Because if it's like a chicken kind of trade price, then I'm not going to do it. And because Seth Jones has pretty much leveraged on almost any movement or any trade, he could just block the trade. And I did hear something that Seth Jones does not want to play in Canada, which is not surprising because, a lot of Americans, I would say, unless you get drafted to them, because that is said too. I heard Brett Wallace and Jason York before Bobby Ryan came on the show. Elliot Friedman was a guest on it, and Jason York said he doesn't see DeBrincat as a long-term fit. I mean, I would give him an extension, a long-term extension, because he actually has been very helpful. He hasn't been the goal scorer in Chicago as we thought he would be. He scored 41 goals last year, but he's been a really good point producer for the Senators. So, I don't know. Obviously, if you're an American drafted to a Canadian team, you're going to have more loyalty, as like Brady Tkachuk and everybody, and Josh Norris as well. But I wouldn't say it's rare, because there have been multiple scenarios where Americans do go to Canadian teams, but it's not often. But I'm going to give you my thoughts on this. Seth Jones is really one of my favorite players in the National Hockey League, but I think the Senators are just wanting to know how much Chicago's going to retain, because $9.5 million is a lot. It really is. And I don't know how it would work unless it would be like a move at the trade deadline or something like that. Like, there's ways the cap can work, but if you're trading like first round picks and all that stuff, then I don't know. I mean, the 2024, 2025 first rounder depends on where the team is right now. You don't want to move your first rounder this year, especially if you're a fringe team in the Bedard draft. But I also saw this article where it was named this, and I actually read this too because I found it a little interesting. 3 Ottawa Senators of Blackhawks should target in a Seth Jones trade. And 2 of them, I don't know. 1 of them didn't surprise me at all, because the first one was Nikita Zaitsev. And really, he's pretty much the guy that can make the money work the most, regardless of how much you're retaining. The second guy was Travis Hamonic, who has a $3 million cap hit. He hasn't looked all too great, I would say. He's looked alright with Jake Sanderson, but like, when you look at him on the ice and all that stuff, I don't know. He's let some bad goals in, I'll just say that right there. And then the third guy is Ridley Greig, which is not going to happen. Pierre Dorian has already said, because, the Ottawa Senators, the Arizona Coyotes, because when the Ottawa Senators were in rumors with Jacob Chychrun, Ridley Greig was definitely a guy that Arizona wanted, and Dorian was going to bounce on it. So, I could see the scenario where Zaitsev and Hamonic go the other way, because Hamonic's contract expires after this year, and Zaitsev's expires the following year. So that's $7.5 million right there. And then Seth Jones, who carries a $9.5 million cap hit. I'm just making theories. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I highly doubt it's going to happen. But in terms of cap, there are definitely some ways it can work. That's all I'm going to say. And it all depends on Seth Jones willing to come here, because I'm not even sure that Seth Jones wants to play in Canada if he were to waive his no movement clause. And also, it's just a matter of, is Chicago going to retain anything? That's just pretty much where I'm at with it. And would you have to trade like first round picks with it as well? Because keep in mind, with the Seth Jones trade back in the summer of 2021, he got traded for Adam Boqvist, 2 first round picks, 2021, which turned out to be Cole Sillinger, I believe. I'm not sure. Either he was the second round pick that year. I don't know. But him, the 6th overall pick in this draft, which turned out to be David Jiricek, which went to Columbus, but then Chicago got the 7th overall pick from us in the DeBrincat deal. And then they also gave up a 2nd round pick in 2021 as well. for Boquist, a 32nd overall pick, and then a 6th rounder in 2022. But all I'm saying is, I highly doubt it happens. There's ways it can work. It just comes down to Jones and if Chicago wants to retain anything. But my question is, who said no to the trade? Ottawa because of the trade price? Or how much they're willing to retain? Or Chicago? Because gotta think this way too, if you're the Blackhawks. Jonathan Toews is your captain. Patrick Kane is obviously, if Toews were to not show up anymore, because both those guys have 1 year left on their contracts. Patrick Kane is looking like he's going to get traded at the deadline. Who to is the question. But suppose Jonathan Toews doesn't come back next year, which I highly doubt that happens. Patrick Kane is obviously the first choice for Blackhawks captain, but because he's got a year left on his contract like Toews, they both might not be Blackhawks next year. And that leads to you not having an obvious choice for captain, but if you're Kyle Davidson of the Blackhawks, you're most likely going to have Seth Jones as your captain, so that's pretty much the guy you might want to build your team around if Kane and Toews leave. So that can be understandable. Maybe they don't want to move him. And, I don't know. I don't think Seth Jones is as bad as some people are saying, but like I said, it comes down to his no movement clause. It comes down to how much the Blackhawks would be willing to retain, which by the sounds of it would be nothing, and what they would be getting back in return, what a deal would look like. I thought it was really interesting. I would definitely like to see Seth Jones in a Senators uniform, even though the chances of that happening are slimmer than slim, if you want to think of it that way. But that's just what I think overall with the rumors. So, there you go. My reaction to the Zub extension, my reaction to the Seth Jones to the Senators rumors. And there you go. So, I'm going to have a video almost every day leading up to the new year. So, tomorrow, I'm gonna give you my whole schedule. Here we go. Tomorrow, Bruins pregame. Wednesday, Bruins recap. Thursday, Capitals preview. Friday, Capitals recap. Saturday, I'm going to have the Red Wings preview, and then later, before it strikes midnight, I might have the reaction video to that coming out. New Year's Day, the Sabres preview, and then later that night, the reaction to that as well. And then on Tuesday the 3rd, I believe it is, we have a Blue Jackets. We're hosting the Blue Jackets in that one. So Monday, I'm going to come out with next week, I'm going to come out with the Blue Jackets preview video. Then the reaction will come out later that week, most likely the Friday or the Saturday, which will be the 6th or the 7th. So, we're looking at a lot of videos this week from me. It's just keep yourself in the loop. And, yeah, there you go. So, yeah, like I said, Bruins preview will be coming out tomorrow. But for now, this is Jack from the Ottawa Senators Outlook. Go Sens Go, and this was the 4th episode of Taking Notes. Hope you enjoyed.